Okay, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the City Planning Public Hearing. And Madam Secretary, please begin.
Good morning. This is the City Planning Commission public meeting held in Spector Hall, 22 Reade Street. Today is Wednesday, July 15, 2015. As a courtesy during the proceedings, we ask that you please turn off all cell phones and beepers. All speakers should fill out a speaker's card at the desk outside of Spector Hall. In addition, we ask that those providing testimony please identify yourself, limit your remarks to 3 minutes, and speak clearly into the microphone. I will now call the roll. Chairman Weisbrod.
Here.
Vice Chairman Knuckles.
Here.
Commissioner Besser.
Here.
Commissioner Cantor. Commissioner Cerullo.
Here.
Commissioner Delaus.
Here.
Commissioner Dweck.
Here.
Commissioner Edie. Commissioner Efron.
Yeah, here.
Commissioner Levin.
Here.
Commissioner Marin.
Here.
Commissioner Ortiz.
Here.
A quorum is present.
Madam Secretary, before we begin our regular meeting, we do have some additional information regarding 1809 Emmons Avenue that the Commission members asked about at the Monday review session, and so I would ask that we continue the Monday review session and have Daphne Lundy present the additional information and I think the answers to the questions that were raised about Emmons Avenue. So Daphne, the floor is yours.
Good morning. So the Commission, there were several questions regarding the materials being used in the development as well as the screening of the parking on the second-story roof. The structure of the building will be cast in place using a reinforced concrete superstructure consisting of reinforced concrete bearing columns, exterior walls, and concrete slab floors. All aspects of the exterior concrete superstructure, such as walls, columns, roofs, and balconies, are proposed to have corrosion-resistant epoxy reinforcement placed in alkaline-resistant concrete. The exterior finish of this residential portion, as well as the exterior concrete surfaces, will be sealed in a material such as Stablecrete for waterproofing and to prevent corrosion. Finishes of the exterior wall will be done using a waterproof spray-on membrane. The paint will provide additional waterproofing. A powder-coated corrosion-resistant aluminum will be used for all exterior fenestration frames. All surfaces with high pedestrian and vehicular traffic, such as the balconies, the plaza, and the parking decks, will be coated in order to withstand exposure to salt. Exterior railing, fencing, and fastenings will either be constructed with hot-dip galvanized metal or stainless steel to prevent corrosion. Shown here is the illustrative parking plan for the parking on the second floor, as well as a model showing the ramp leading to the parking. The parking area will be fully screened along the exterior perimeter facade of the building with a 5-foot opaque, non-reflective concrete parapet wall. The outside of the parapet wall will be covered with the glass aluminum curtain wall system. Such screening will block cars as well as headlights from being visible from the street. There will be a 6-foot fence located 20 feet away from the wall of the residential portion of the building. This is shown in green on this plan. Shown here as well. Typical headlights are generally 30 to 40 inches from the ground. The fence will provide 100% screening of the cars and the headlights. High-intensity beams will have a range, which have a range of 25 feet, would be blocked by the exterior parapet wall in all directions. Low-intensity headlight beams, which have a range of 160 feet, would be blocked by the 5-foot parapet wall along the perimeter. Therefore, low and high-intensity car headlights would be screened and would not shine onto the buildings across the street on Sheepshead Bay Road or the residential units on the second floor. The ramp connecting the first floor of the parking garage to the second floor of the parking garage is located parallel to Leif Erikson Drive, Shore Parkway. That's shown here. Its incline is facing the direction of Sheepshead Bay Road. The nearest buildings to the ramp are approximately 100 feet away. The building directly across the street that are closest to the ramps are 3 stories tall and are at the same elevation of the parking area on the second floor. This is because the ground floor is the cellar. The point at which the ramp levels off onto the parking level is 60 feet away from the Sheepshead Bay Road parapet wall. Nearby properties would be screened from the headlights as vehicles entered the parking. So shown here, there's a distance of about 60 feet from where the car levels off to the parapet wall. And shown here are the different ranges of the intensities of parapet wall that would be blocked. Furthermore, the rooftop area will have low ambient light from light poles that are 4 feet in height. The light fixtures will emit light pointed downward and away from the residential units. The light fixtures are shorter than both the parapet wall and the screening along the residential walls of the building. Therefore, the light would not be visible to residents.
Thank you, Daphne. Questions?
Sorry.
Ms. Efron?
Thank you. Really does clarify a lot of questions. I am still, or I should say, I'm newly confused because the exterior plan colors here, I understand what the materials are significantly different than the ones we saw on Monday, which involved a lot of orange.
So the actual building itself is still in flux. That design is still being worked out. What we really were focused on was the layout of the plaza, but in general, the bulk of the building would be something similar. And this was done, in the evening, so it was kind of what we were able to get from the architect.
Okay, knowing that it's in flux is actually very helpful. I know it's outside of what normally we would do, except that this is a district.
Correct.
And there is some sense of context that seems appropriate.
Any other questions for Daphne on this? Mr. Cantor?
I assume if we give an approval, the presentation that was made today is going to be referenced as part of that approval.
Indeed.
Thank you.
So with that, I would ask for show of hands to send a letter to the Department of Buildings approving the certification. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well done, Daphne. Okay, we'll now move on to the public hearing. What?
You already did. We're gonna,
Yes, we're now
Okay.
proceeding to the public hearing.
first item is the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of Wednesday, July 1st, 2015. Go ahead.
All in favor?
On the
Minutes.
minutes, may I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Any opposition, any abstentions? Minutes are approved.
Scheduling. On calendar numbers 1 through 4, we have resolutions for adoption, scheduling Wednesday, August 5th, 2015, for a public hearing to be held in Spector Hall, 22 Reade Street.
On the resolutions, may I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The resolutions are approved.
The next part of the calendar is the report section on page 4. Borough of Brooklyn, calendar number 5, CD2, N150356BDK, in the matter of an application concerning the formation of the Metro Tech Area Business Improvement District. For a favorable report on calendar number 5, Chairman Weisbrod,
Aye.
Vice Chairman Knuckles.
Yes.
Commissioner Besser.
Yes.
Commissioner Cantor.
Yes.
Commissioner Cerullo.
Yes.
Commissioner Delauss.
Yes.
Commissioner Dweck. Commissioner Efron.
Yes.
Commissioner Levin.
Yes.
Commissioner Marin.
Yes.
Commissioner Ortiz.
Yes.
A favorable report has been adopted on calendar number 5. Borough of Manhattan, calendar number 6, CD3, N150317HAM, in the matter of an application for a UDAP designation and project approval of city-owned property concerning 269 Henry Street. For a favorable report on calendar number 6, Chairman Weisbrod.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Knuckles.
Yes.
Commissioner Besser.
Yes.
Commissioner Cantor.
Yes.
Commissioner Cerullo.
Yes.
Commissioner Delauss. Commissioner Dweck.
Yes.
Commissioner Efron.
Yes.
Commissioner Levin.
Yes.
Commissioner Marin.
Yes.
Commissioner Ortiz.
Yes.
A favorable report has been adopted on calendar number 6. Borough of Queens, calendar number 7, CDs 1 and 2, N150141ZRQ, in the matter of an application for an amendment of the zoning resolution concerning Bright Horizons Children's Center. For a favorable report on calendar number 7, Chairman Weisbrod.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Knuckles.
Yes.
Commissioner Besser.
Yes.
Commissioner Cantor.
Yes.
Commissioner Cerullo.
Yes.
Commissioner Delauss.
Yes.
Commissioner Dweck. Commissioner Efron.
Yes.
Commissioner Levin.
Yes.
Commissioner Marin.
Yes.
Commissioner Ortiz.
Yes.
A favorable report has been adopted on calendar number 7. Borough of Staten Island calendar numbers 8 and 9. Calendar number 8, CD3, N150249 RAR. Calendar number 9, N150406 RAR. In the matter of applications for the grant of authorizations concerning the YMCA 3939 Richmond Avenue for adoption on calendar numbers 8 and 9. Chairman Weisbrod.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Knuckles.
Yes.
Commissioner Besser.
Yes.
Commissioner Cantor.
Yes.
Commissioner Cerullo.
Yes.
Commissioner Delauss. Commissioner Dweck. Commissioner Efron.
Yes.
Commissioner Levin.
Yes.
Commissioner Marin.
Yes.
Commissioner Ortiz.
Yes.
Calendar numbers 8 and 9 have been adopted. The next part of the calendar is the public hearing section on page 7. Borough of Brooklyn, calendar numbers 10 and 11. Calendar number 10, CD16, C150326 PSK. Calendar number 11, C150327 ZSK. A public hearing in the matter of applications for the site selection of property and for the grant of a special permit concerning FDNY Rescue 2.
The first speaker is DJ Harney. Those your initials, or does it stand for deputy something?
David Joseph.
David Joseph? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Harney. The floor is yours.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the City Planning Commission. My name is David Harney, and in my role as Chief of Staff to the Deputy Fire Commissioner, I am spearheading this land use action on behalf of the Fire Department. I'm joined this morning by Captain Leon Flaherty, Commanding Officer, Rescue Company 2, and he is available to answer any operational questions the Commission might have. The action before the Commission this morning is part of a site selection special permit to build a new facility for Rescue Company 2 at Block 1467, Lot 22, Sterling Place, between Howard and Saratoga Avenues, in Brooklyn's Community Board 16. The action was certified by the Commission on April 4th, 2015, and was approved by a vote of 24 in favor, 0 opposed, and 1 abstention by the Community Board on May 26th. Additionally, this action was approved by Borough President Adams approximately 2 weeks ago, albeit with some conditions. At the outset, I'd like to state the Fire Department is extremely excited about this project. And last night, as you know, Mr. Chairman, this proposed facility received an Excellence Design Award by the city's Public Design Commission. However, and specifically, rescue companies, which are part of the fire department, which we have one in each borough, are part of our Special Operations Command. And they have both borough and citywide response requirements. Moreover, these units have a broad mission which goes beyond firefighting and includes the rescue of civilians or firefighters in extraordinary situations, extrication and victim removal, when specialized expertise and equipment is required. These companies are often called on to respond to incidents including building collapses, as we saw yesterday over at 1438 Tompkins Avenue in Brooklyn, train derailments, high-angle water rescues, and last night, about 12:25 this morning, the members of Rescue Company 4 went into the river to search for someone off Roosevelt Island. And of course, acts of terrorism, natural disasters. All rescue firefighters are experienced members of the department and are individually selected for rigorous training for inclusion into what we believe are our most elite units. Naturally, the training and storage requirements of these extremely special companies have grown dramatically over the past 15 years, post 9/11, the multi-state blackout, and especially after Hurricane Sandy. Rescue companies are assigned 2 vehicles, their main rescue apparatus, as well as their rescue collapse apparatus, which carries vast amounts of equipment for shoring, which Rescue 2 put into use yesterday. We actually call them jokingly a Home Depot on wheels. In addition, their firehouse is specially designed to store a large amount of tools and equipment so they may be ready to respond to a variety of emergencies, as well as conduct in-service training while in quarters. Mr. Chairman, may I please continue?
Yes, you may.
Thank you, sir. However, Rescue 2's current facility, located at 1472 Bergen Street, was built in 1892 during the administration of President McKinley. I could go through all the presidents, but I don't want to waste the commission's time. The current facility at
That was still current events for some of us, but not for all.
The current facility at approximately 3,600 square feet is grossly undersized for their needs, and is literally falling apart due to 120 years of continuous use. Much of the company's storage is outside, located in Conex containers, while their rescue collapse apparatus needs to be stored in another facility, Engine 280, ladder 132 on St. John's Place, which acts as problematic for operations, but when you have rescue and rescue collapse responding together, it actually acts as a force multiplier in terms of our response capabilities and Rescue 2's ability to respond effectively. Because of all these issues, the department identified the Sterling Place location as the optimal site to relocate and build a new facility. The proposed facility will have storage areas in the basement for various rescue disciplines such as scuba, collapse, high-value tools and equipment such as diamond-tipped saw blades, and other pneumatic equipment. The main floor will contain an apparatus bay for 4 vehicles, rescue collapse, our high-axle vehicles, which are new to the department, which are Army-grade deuce-and-a-half vehicles, which will respond in blizzards, heavy flooding, as well as one of our recuperation and care units, which respond to all hands fires and multiple alarms. The main floor will hold additional tool and lumber storage, conference room, kitchen, personal protective equipment racks, we call bunker gear, and a house watch where emergency calls are received. The second floor will contain the semi-private spaces for the proposed facility, lockers, showers from both male and female firefighters, officer's office, a study room. Meanwhile, the proposed facility will have a vertical airlight shaft, which will double as a training tower with windows and doors and balconies which mimic typical city conditions. The proposed design will also be in line with the mayor's commitment to an 80% reduction of greenhouse gas emissions by 2050, and includes a geothermal HVAC system, solar-powered water heater, and natural lighting and ventilation to reduce energy use. The proposed facility will also be equipped with an emergency generator so operations will not be hampered by the natural or man-made events which will interrupt the proposed facility's power supply or ability to provide service to the community or borough.
Mr. Harney, I think that I appreciate your detailed comments on the facility itself, and I think that the questions that the commission has, or members of the commission probably have more to do with the operational nature and an impact of the facility on the surrounding community. So if you could address that issue, or if Captain Flaherty would address that issue, I'd appreciate it, and then submit the rest of your testimony.
Very good, sir. In terms of operational response, Rescue 2 this past year responded to approximately 3,600 to 3,700 times. Part of our regulations of the department, fire apparatus are allowed to traverse one block against traffic, and the regulations are very specific in that. But we feel, and these issues were discussed with the board, that the way the company would respond would not pose any type of risk to public safety, especially the way all fire companies exit the firehouse, where the chauffeur will move the rig out of quarters. Meanwhile, the members will stop traffic to allow the rig to egress the facility safely.
Okay, let me open this up to questions. Ms. Deluz.
Thank you very much for being here, and congratulations on the award last night.
Thank you very much.
I'm just wondering, putting aside available land, I'm just wondering from the perspective of FDNY, what would be the ideal location for such a facility? I mean, would you normally want to site it in a residential district, or is that just what was available?
We looked at this site for a number of reasons. Rescue company, with its both local and borough-wide response, needs to be able to move places. By the location on Howard Avenue, it puts us in very good close proximity to Kings Highway, which will allow the company to traverse south and west, but also puts it close to both Eastern Parkway and Atlantic Avenue,
Right.
as you go a little further up to Broadway and Bushwick Avenue. So from those locations, the company can move east, west, north, and south and respond more effectively. So we thought that this was the best spot for the company to respond. Captain Flaherty, you want to add anything to that?
We can do.
Hold
Oh,
on,
I'm-
Captain Flaherty. A moment, there may be other questions for you. Ms. Efron?
Thank you. The 3,700 responses, are they all responses in which the sirens are used by the fire department? Which is, I think some of us are concerned about what the immediate impact will be for a neighborhood that, by all accounts, has been rather quiet over the years.
Our operational requirements are that when any unit, all of our 217 firehouses, when a fire apparatus is responding in an emergency capacity from quarters, they will engage the lights and the sirens. But the issue of siren noise was discussed in the department's environmental assessment, and I believed, and I'm trying to recall this off the top of my head, was that, we are required by city standards in terms of siren noise. That has to be below a certain decibel level. But we need to place firehouses in the local community because we're responding to people in the local community. And in our environmental assessment, it was determined that this would not be a significant impact on area residents, because I believe that the level of siren noise dissipates dramatically as the rig, traverses down the street.
Thank you.
Ms. Cantor?
Thank you. The 3,600 averages out to about 10 a day. Is that only within the Brooklyn area? Excuse me. Would that 10 a day be coming out of this location? Is that fair?
Yes, sir. And I will say that the rescue companies, because of their elite status, do respond to, major emergencies. Back over the winter, we gave the chair and the district manager of Community Board 16 a tour of Rescue Company 2's existing quarters, and Captain Flaherty and his team had to leave because they had to respond over to the World Trade Center, the window washer accident. So while Rescue 1 was on the incident floor, getting ready to cut that window open, Captain Flaherty and his team were on the roof of the World Trade Center, determining whether they had to rappel down to rescue these men.
Thank you.
Ms. Ortiz?
Hi, just for some clarification, my recollection, and maybe others can weigh in on this, was that because it is a facility, for police and fire, that you are not required to comply with the noise, the noise levels. That was my recollection. Is that not the case? I remember discussing this during, the hearing. So it would just be important to note that, what is in fact the case. Are they required to comply or not? Because the 3,700 calls annually then would result in, 100 calls a day, right? 10 calls a day.
So if you think about it, it's less than one every other hour.
Yeah, no,
And- and
just for the
because-
person
and-
living next door.
And because.
I don't know if I'd want to live there.
It's effectively a
They'd have no problem with fire. It would just be helpful to know what had been said in the secret, because it,
We can provide that to the commission.
Thank you. And obviously, some of those calls, just given the nature of emergencies, are going to be in the middle of the night, so. Is there any way to, and maybe this is a question for Captain Flaherty, is there any way to, especially at night when the traffic is much more limited, to at least control the noise as the vehicles leave the station for that first couple of blocks?
Mr. Chairman, it is an issue of safety. It is an issue of safety. Let's play that out. If the apparatus leaves an emergency capacity and does not turn on its lights and sirens and goes through the intersection at Howard Avenue and is T-boned
Right.
by a bus, then we have a much more serious situation that engine and ladder companies that were responding to an incident, other companies now have to respond to rescue too.
Sure.
It is all, the lights and sirens are in place on all emergency apparatus for safety. And that is one of our and the Fire Commissioner's primary concerns. Safety of our members, safety of the general public.
Mr. Dweck?
My question was, out of the 3,700 responses, do you have statistics on how many of them took place between 10 p.m. and, let's just say, 6 a.m.?
I couldn't say that for sure, sir.
Would there be some kind of database of information that you can get back to this commission at a future date with that information?
I will bring that back to our Bureau of Management and Planning and see if those numbers can be called out.
We're gonna call you in a minute, Captain, so don't worry, your turn will come. Ms. Levin?
Yeah, Mr. Harney, I think you can detect from these questions, what we're wrestling with is that you've applied for this facility, while much needed for the city, is in a residential neighborhood for which you have applied for a special permit. And that special permit, only required when you're putting a fire station in a residential neighborhood, is for facilities that are going to serve that neighborhood. You've made a powerful case for the importance of this unit for the city as a whole and for the borough. You've said nothing about the neighborhood itself. And from a planning standpoint, I look at this provision in the zoning that is intended to allow local firehouses to be sited in the neighborhoods that they serve. But this is a citywide facility, and I have real difficulty, while fully understanding the importance of this facility to the city, I have real difficulty with aligning that with the requirements of the zoning resolution, which are supposed to keep, it's supposed to limit fire facilities in residential neighborhoods to local units. So I don't know if that's more of a sort of large comment for what's on my mind, or if you have any additional thoughts that could help us over this issue, but we have to meet the findings that are laid out in zoning.
Rescue 2 will be responding to incidents within Community Board 16, and speaking with Captain Flaherty last night, as they were returning to quarters the other night, they actually came upon a shooting victim and rendered aid. The rescue company firefighters, like all firefighters,
Yeah, no.
will be providing service within the community,
I realize.
whether it is the boy that falls off his bicycle or a multi-alarm fire within that district. Rescue companies, yes, they have a critical responsibility in the agency's overall operational matrix, but at the end of the day, they are still a local emergency response facility and a resource for the community. Well, I should say, for the local community.
Yep. Well, and that's reflected in the positive response you had from the community board and the borough president. So my rant withstanding, I understand that there's local support for this, and we'll certainly take that into account.
But just to follow up on Ms. Levin's question, does this facility rescue company also double as a local firehouse, or is there a local firehouse in addition to the borough-wide rescue company in this community?
As per our operational matrix, when a rescue company responds to an incident, and it could be a local incident, if a ladder company, again, we have engine companies which stretch hose line and extinguish fires, and ladder companies which perform building ventilation and search and rescue. If a ladder company is not present when rescue responds, rescue companies will go into service as a ladder company and go perform an aggressive interior search of the fire floor, of the fire building, and act in that capacity before a ladder company arrives. And when a ladder company arrives, Rescue 2 will step back and allow the ladder company to go into operation, and then they will perform specialized services as required by the incident commander.
Right, that I think I understand, but I guess my question's a little narrower, which is, because if this rescue company is located here, does that eliminate the necessity for a ladder company or an engine company
Close by.
or both in this particular community?
I would say no, sir, because when an alarm assignment is given out, you're usually sending 3 engine companies and 2 ladder companies to an incident. If a ladder company is at another incident, rescue can move in and assume that responsibility until another one is available. So they will be providing service within the local community.
And do you have a sense of, you said that the rescue company has roughly 3,600 runs a year. What would a typical ladder or engine company have in terms of runs?
It would vary by the location of the company and the building type. You think we have a firehouse on City Island compared to Ladder 8 in Midtown, or Ladder 175 in East New York. It really varies.
Could you give us a sense of the range?
I think the busiest ladder company would respond to over 5,000 times, and maybe even 6. So, rescue is lower than what a normal ladder company would be doing on an annual basis.
And the operational the operational activities of a ladder company, at least, or an engine company, at least in terms of how it would affect a neighborhood's ambience in terms of noise and traffic and the like, would be roughly the same in terms of lights and sirens and the like.
Or in some cases greater, because those ladder and engine companies are moving out much more frequently than the rescue company.
Thank you. Mr. Cantor.
Could you please go over once again for us how the site selection was determined?
Again, the fire department in conducting its review looked at, again, trying to be with an eye towards overall cost, towards city property first, because that, of course, is of no charge to the agency, rather than having to go to the private real estate market to acquire property. Then the entire issue centered on what would be the best location to provide rescue with the ability to both work within the community, but also to respond to borough incidents. And because of the location adjacent to Eastern Parkway, Atlantic Avenue, not too far from Kings Highway, it gives the company the ability to move. Gentrification and new building comes and goes, cyclical with the economy. But the main thoroughfares within the borough of Brooklyn, and with all the boroughs, will always remain. So it was imperative for the fire department to try to identify a location that put Rescue Company 2 in close proximity to those main thoroughfares.
So the selection process was based predominantly on the logic of use by the fire department, not necessarily the logic of possible intrusion into the community.
We don't view it as an intrusion in the community, because we are providing an essential service
No question.
to the community.
My word is wrong, but I think you know where I'm going.
Commissioner, we have 217 firehouses across the city. They are in residential areas across the city. Some are busier than others. And sir, as you know, this is really what Fair Share is all about, that there has to be some give and take with the need to provide essential services. And we feel that in this area of the borough, which is growing, that Rescue 2's options in the local area will increase, but the need to place them geographically so they can respond quickly, safely, and effectively is paramount.
Is there any land in the area that could have been or was considered?
We really, once this site was identified, due to its location geographically, the agency really focused on it, and of course, being city-owned property, it drove the issue even further because, as you all know, with the real estate market being where it is, and the length of time for design development, land use development, bidding, that the city has, or might be one step behind the private sector in terms of overall development. The site works tremendously for the agency. And so when the site was brought to us, we thought that this was the best operationally. All the chiefs from rescue operations looked at it and said, this is the best location for Rescue 2, both today and moving forward.
I'd like to conclude by noting that I live in Bayside, which is not too high a fire incident area. But when you guys wake me up in the middle of the night, it frankly gives me comfort to know you're out there.
Engine 306,
Yes,
214th place,
yes.
right at Bayside.
Mr. Marin.
Good morning, Mr. Harding. Thank you for your presentation. My question is more towards the firehouse located at 1472, your Bergen Street location. So one of our actions today was the repurposing of the firehouse at 269 Henry Street. What happens when you leave 1472 Bergen? What happens to that asset?
Okay, what the department will do will be to surrender jurisdiction of the parcel to DCAS, and then it will be DCAS's position either to place the property up to another city agency for use, but, you know, Commissioner, let's call it what it is. At 120-plus years old in a building that's structurally failing,
It's gotta be torn down.
can another city agency really make use of it? And if it's not good enough for us, why would it be good enough for another city agency? DCAS would then be able to either transfer jurisdiction to the Economic Development Corporation for direct sale, or they would do a land use action for disposition of city property, and then once that land use action was completed, then the site could be sold via public auction.
Thank you.
Ms. Efron.
Thank you. On the fair share analysis that we have, it shows engine 227 and 423 Ralph Avenue, which is about 4 blocks away from this site. Is there any way you could find out what the annual response record is there?
Number of responses
I
from,
think that would be very useful for us.
okay, very good.
Thank you.
Can I add one comment?
Mr. Cantor.
We haven't discussed life safety rescue.
You did.
The numbers you gave us include those that are going out for life safety as well as fire. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
There might be more.
So replace the ambulance corps, so to speak. Well, I say replace, there was a number of years ago, there was a transition, I think, from one department, which was joined with the fire department to provide ambulance, EMT.
In March of 1996, the Emergency Medical Services of the Health and Hospitals Corporation was merged into the fire department. As part of that action, the fire department has been aggressively building new EMS facilities. If you think about it, at the time of merger with EMS, the NYPD put out however many RMP units from 76 police precincts. The New York City Fire Department had 360 companies working out of 227 firehouses. EMS operations at the time put out about 400 ambulance tours per day from only 16 sites citywide. Over the past almost 20 years, the fire department has been aggressively, and I've testified before the commission a number of times on these matters, we have built more than 20 EMS stations to decongest existing facilities and place ambulances closer to their response areas, and to, at the end of the day, reduce ambulance drive time and reduce emergency medical response times. The problem is we could not place ambulances into the firehouses because with more than 70% of my now 217 firehouses built between 1865 and 1959, there's not the physical room within those firehouses to base ambulance units, which is why we are building EMS stations. We have built combined facilities. We built one out in Far Rockaway, engine 265, ladder 121, with EMS Station 47. We built one out in Community Ward 3 in Staten Island, engine 168, the Shanghai Express, with EMS Station 23. The problem with trying to build combined facilities is simply that there is not the physical space needed and availability of physical space to build such facilities.
Any other questions for Mr. Harney? I do have one question. Did Rescue Company number 4 locate the individual off of Roosevelt Island last night?
It's, you know, when it goes off in the middle of the night,
Yeah. That's your siren.
I guess you weren't assisting them.
at 12:50 a.m. this morning, patient has been removed from the water by FDNY divers and being transported by EMS.
Hell of a way to escape from the island, I'll tell you that.
We don't trust the trend.
Thank you very much, Mr. Harney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members of the commission.
Captain Flaherty. I don't know, commission members have questions for the captain?
Thank you.
Okay. You're excused unless you,
I know we were talking about the local community, I can assure you that, we're an absolute asset to the, to the block and to the immediate community too. I would say about 50% of our runs would be to the local area, and we'd be servicing the people on the block and in the immediate area. And there is a huge building boom a couple of blocks away. They're building dozens of 6-story multiple dwellings, and the infrastructure definitely has to grow with the building boom. So, we do have responsibilities outside the area, but we are absolute asset to the local area as well.
thank you, Captain. Mr. Knuckles.
Well, Captain, since you raised the issue, what kinds of, from your view, what kinds of measures can a local fire entity like this do to be a good neighbor, a better neighbor? Obviously, over and above providing safety for the community, but what kinds of outreach do you do in terms of becoming a better neighbor to your
All right, so,
surroundings?
I was just thinking about sitting there. The other day, one of the kids was playing the playground, came over, we put a Band-Aid on his knee. The kids are always bringing their bicycles over. I have the A-team. It's the Navy SEALs of the FDNY. We can fix anything, we can build anything, we can make bad situations go away. The kids know that. They bring their bicycles over. When the guys have spare time, they're fixing bikes. They're always, and we've actually seen, kids grow up in the neighborhood. We're watching them go through school and stuff. So I feel like they're part of my family. So we absolutely interact with the local community as we try to be as neighborly as possible.
Ms. Levin.
Following up on that, it occurs to me that you're located in a residential neighborhood
Now.
pretty much now, right?
It's becoming more and more residential. Yes, we have the Albany houses are right to the left, and then there's another multiple dwelling, and on the Schenectady and the corner of Schenectady and Bergen. And then there's 2 huge playgrounds, and there's a school across the street. So we are inundated with kids coming by the firehouse all the time. And we try, we try to be role models to them and, tell them, stay in school and, get good grades, and you can ride on the fire truck. You can ride on the fire truck with us one day, and, so.
So let me ask you, maybe you don't know the answer to this, but how often have you run into situations of friction with the local neighborhood about the ways in which you have to operate in order to do your job? Or you get complaints about sirens, about runs, about you woke me up in the night?
I haven't, no. Personally, I haven't. Obviously, as Commissioner Harney was saying, that is an issue with safety, again, going through an intersection, you have to,
Right.
you have to use the siren and the ammo.
Right, but you don't do that and then know the next morning you're going to get the angry neighbor down the street pounding on your door again.
Well, I will tell you, there is discretion on the part of the officer when we go down the block. Like, if it's 3 in the morning, I roll out, I will hold off on it until I get up to the intersection. You can, You can't do that, but you do have to put it on when you go through the intersection. You know? There is a minimal amount of discretion.
Just a related question, Captain. Given this, this site, would you be able to predict in any way to what extent you would have to go against, in that first block, go against traffic? Or is that totally unpredictable?
Well,
It just depends on where the...
I would say, you know, by the layout of the borough and the runs, I would say, I mean, I'm just going aside, we're not there. But
Yeah.
I would say 60 to 70% would be a right out of quarters, which would be going with traffic.
With the traffic.
You know, and we're midway through the block, you know. And the other side, I know it's slated for multiple dwellings afterwards, they're gonna come up, so, but most of it would be with traffic, you know.
Mhm. And is that, all things being equal, obviously, that's the preference? I
Oh,
assume.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we would always rather go with traffic, like,
Right.
you know, I mean, we are allowed to go at least one block
Right.
against traffic, you know. Obviously, by the nature of the business, sometimes, you know, we get a traffic jam or some apparatus sets up at the end of the block and you have to get access to the building, you have to come around and go, you know, it's just how we do business.
Right.
But you know, we use absolute care, you know, I mean, we're in the business of saving lives.
Right.
We're not, you know, no one would take it harder than us if we did something wrong or hurt somebody during the
Indeed.
response.
Indeed. Any other questions to the captain? Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Captain,
Thank you.
and thank you for your service to
Oh,
the city.
thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to be heard on this matter? And if not, the hearing is closed, and I note there are some questions that we'll try to get back to the commission with answers. Thank you.
Okay, Borough of Brooklyn, calendar number 12, CD 18, C150318, PQK. A public hearing in the matter of an application for the acquisition of property located at 10,300 Foster Avenue.
First speaker is Fabian Feliciano from HRA.
Good morning, Chairman, Vice Chairman, Commissioners. I'm Fabian Feliciano. I'm the Director for Human Resource Administration, Office of Multi-Service Centers and Land Use Review. And I'm here to answer any questions you may have about the warehouse and our expansion.
Ms. Delausse.
Hi, how are you? Can you just walk us through the staff that will be on site versus ones that might be stopping here and then going elsewhere?
Well, most of the staff that's going to be located there are the printing shop, but most of the staff go to different HRA buildings to provide support services. That would be our trade shops.
Ms. Efron.
We've heard from other city agencies involved with storage of forms and other items that due to flooding or often just storing things on the ground as opposed to on pallets, there's been damage done. What steps will HRA take to make sure that whatever is stored there does not become damaged, considering how few people will be working out there to see if a sprinkler head goes off or there's a flood from
Okay,
a
we have a
backed
new
up bathroom?
system of, I'm sorry, we have a new system of storage. It's basically, now, it's rolled up in these metal drums, I would say, metal canisters. So they're protected from water, they're protected, you know, in case there's a fire, that wouldn't be an issue.
Good, thank you.
Any other questions, Mr. Feliciano? Thank you, Mr. Feliciano. We also have here to answer questions, Paul Brunn from HRA and Scott Bernstein from DCAS. And do any commissioners have questions for DCAS? No? Is there anyone else who wishes to be heard on this matter? Or for that matter, does Mr. Brun or Mr. Bernstein wish to be heard on this matter? Okay.
Seriously.
With that, Madam Secretary, the hearing is closed. And is there any other matter to come before us this morning?
No, Chairman Weisbrot.
So with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn and wish everyone a very happy next 2 weeks.
Thank you.